Hi, I'm Kat and today I have for you a true crime case. I also have a word in Romanian and I will be doing my makeup at the same time. So let's get started with the word. The word in Romanian for today is familie. 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 Well done guys, you just said family. Everything I'm about to say in this video is alleged as the investigation is still ongoing, and I will also be sharing my own views with you. Today we will be discussing one of the most devastating and incomprehensible types of crimes, familicide, also known as family annihilation. Familicide is the act of killing multiple members of one's own family, often including children, spouses, siblings or parents. In some cases, the perpetrator will also commit suicide, making it a murder-suicide. When all members of a family are killed, it's referred to as family annihilation. This type of murder is especially tragic and difficult to understand because it involves the killing of a family, often by the father. A recent study published in the Harvard Journal of Criminal Justice identified 4 types of perpetrators, including those who feel self-righteous and blame the mother for the breakdown of the family. These individuals may even call their partner before committing the crime to explain their actions, with their role as the breadwinner being central to their idea of the ideal family. In other cases, the perpetrator feels that their family disappointed or betrayed them, causing them to become disillusioned with their idea of the ideal family. These individuals may feel that their children failed to uphold traditional religious or cultural customs, or that their family acted in ways that undermine their vision of family life. There are also cases in which the perpetrator becomes convinced that their family is closely tied to their economic success and that their worth as a man is measured by their ability to provide for their family. When they experience economic failure, they may view their family as no longer serving a purpose. There are also instances in which the perpetrator becomes paranoid and perceives an external threat to their family, often in the form of social services or the legal system. In these cases, the murders are motivated by a twisted desire to protect the family and are often driven by the perpetrator's sense of masculinity and their need to assert their power. And I only shared these details with you because I believe that the events we are discussing today closely reflect the behavior and actions of the killer involved. 40-year-old Tasha Haidt lived with her husband of 20 years, 42-year-old Michael Haidt, in their home on the 4900 North Block of Albert Drive in Enoch, Utah, the US. Enoch, I hope I'm pronouncing in Enoch, Utah, the US. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing the names right, but you know me, I usually mess them up, so I just want to apologize in advance. They shared the home with their 5 children, 17-year-old Macy, 12-year-old Briley, 7-year-old twins Ammon and Sienna, and 4-year-old Gavin. At the time of this tragedy, Tasha's mother, Gail Earl, who was 78 years old at the time, also lived in the home. Archives from the local newspaper show that Michael's first birthday was commemorated with an announcement in the local newspaper in 1981 alongside a baby picture of him laughing. He was in Boy Scouts as a young boy and he earned the Faith in God award as a 4th grader. 2 years later, in 1992, another newspaper article showed that Michael won a Gospel in Action award from his church. His picture appeared again in the newspaper in 1998 when he was finalist for an academic award in high school for business and marketing. After high school, he served the church mission in Brazil, and then he married Tasha at the church temple in St. George in 2003. Tasha was from Overton, Nevada, 2 hours south of Cedar City, where Michael grew up. I couldn't find much background information on Tasha, but according to her sister, Tasha was always there for her family and she always tried to understand and help people. She lifted them up and helped them feel good about themselves, and she raised her children to be loving and kind to everyone. She had a love for learning and she passed that on to her children. She saw the truth for what it was, and her children were bright and cheerful, always happy to give a hug. Tasha was a true light in her community. If you had a bad day at work or you were struggling at home, Tasha would be right there to support you, always bringing her famous homemade bread. She would drop off her bread on the doorstep of her neighbors to brighten their day. Tasha wanted everyone around her to just feel better. It was just who Tasha really was. You could just pick up the phone and call or text or knock on the door and she would always be there for you. And Tasha's children were exactly the same. Tasha's Facebook is actually filled with images of her family, the most recent showing her with her husband in June 2022. Betty Thurgood was a really good friend of Tasha's, and they actually knew each other since the two of them were both pregnant at the same time for the first time. Betty remembers Tasha as making you laugh just so easily, and she was a rock for her during the hard times that she had. Tasha was just a joy to be around. At one point, they lived just a block away from each other, and they would both have walks every morning with their babies. Betty didn't know Michael well, but she knew that Tasha had filed for divorce. She was ready to move on and start a new chapter of her life with her kids. Her oldest kids were ready for it as well. As a family, they were really well known in their community. They were part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormon Church, and they seemed like a happy family who were active in their church and they were active in their community, and they welcomed newcomers to the neighborhood, eager to help them move in. Not too long ago, in March, John Lavaya met his neighbor Michael Haidt. John had just moved to the small community and he was unloading his moving truck when Michael surprised him, asking if he needed any help, introducing himself as Mike, his neighbor, having a small chat and asking John if he had any children. A father of a 6-year-old, John said that yes, he did. Michael seemed really excited, telling him that he has a set of twins who were 6 years old at the time, and there weren't any other kids their own age on the street, so Michael really thought that his twins will be best friends with John's kid. And they really did become best friends. Over the following months, John's daughter would spend hours riding bikes through the neighborhood with Michael's kids. John was battling cancer and he really bonded with the family who lived just across the street. The family would often check in and ask how John's chemotherapy was going. Michael seemed like a reserved guy, but he didn't really strike anyone as violent or nasty really. Online records show that Michael worked as an insurance agent for Allstate with an office in Cedar City, and he also ran a financial services business out of the family's home, but according to close friends, it seems that he had recently left his job at the insurance company around 1 week before the tragic events of today's case. The mayor of Enoch, Jeffrey Chestnut, lives just a few doors down from the Heights family, and their youngest children used to play with his kids in his own yard, so even he knows the family quite well. It's a really tight-knit community. Enoch is a small town of about 8,000 people located 245 miles south of Salt Lake City. The town, off Interstate 15 in rural Utah, just north of the city of Cedar City and around 80 miles west of Bryce Canyon National Park, had major flooding in 2021, but Enoch City still remains a very close community. No one really wants to leave the city. The neighbors are good, people are wonderful, and they all treat each other like family. Less than 1% of the homes in Enoch are for sale because no one really wants to leave the area. And according to the mayor, in the latest statistics, one neighborhood had 50 children at one point. The neighborhood the Heights lived in has big homes on half-acre lots, and you don't really hear a lot coming from your neighbor's home. Tasha's children attended schools in the Iron County School District in Cedar City. The Iron County School District has 8 secondary schools, 9 elementary schools and 2 preschools. The total enrollment is approximately 8,900 students. Tasha's children were attending between all of them preschool, elementary school, middle school and high school. We don't know much about the children, but according to family, Macy was really good at helping the children and playing with them. She had a kind soul and always tried to be inclusive of others. She was set to graduate from high school with her associate's degree at the end of this school year. Briley was really tender-hearted and always thinking of others. She really loved music and would always be singing, humming and playing her music pieces on the piano or cello. Briley loved to read and would be able to strike up a conversation with just about anyone and everyone. Sienna was vibrant and vivacious in everything. She really loved her friends and she really loved school. Eamon was obsessed with anything and everything trains from a really young age. He loved to see just how things work and he was always interested in learning. Gavin was Tasha's heart. He always gave the best hugs and he loved to be right there in the middle of whatever was going on, and he was always good for a laugh. So up until now, everything sounds perfect, right? The Heights family seem like amazing and loving people. They have great relationships with their neighbors. They live the ideal family dream, or as you would say, the American dream. But of course, I am here covering a true crime case, so not all is as it seems. On January the 5th, 2022, just a couple of days ago, police in Enoch received a call asking for a welfare check on Tasha after she had missed an earlier appointment. Whoever called was the person that Tasha was supposed to meet for the appointment. Now, what I find interesting about this is the call for the welfare check. Typically, these calls are done when you don't hear from people for a certain amount of time, right? Now, whoever was Tasha supposed to meet called asking for a welfare check as soon as Tasha didn't show up to the appointment. This, to me, suggests that this person, whoever he was, knew that something was not quite right. They knew something was going on in that household. Otherwise, they wouldn't call for a welfare check straight away. It's kind of odd, isn't it? You would first, try again to contact the person, possibly relatives, friends, or whoever, but usually you do call the police for a welfare check when they've been missing for quite some time, or when you know that the reason behind them missing is potentially a sinister one. And, this is just my observation. I didn't read this anywhere. At the same time, Cedar City received a call to report a missing person, Michael, who didn't show up to his office. Because Michael's address was in Enoch, this was transferred to Enoch, and the police now had essentially a whole family that needed to be found. At around 4 p.m. on 5th of January, as part of their welfare check, police attend the 4900 North block of Albert Drive. According to neighbors, police officers were peering into the windows of the home, and a few minutes later they knocked on the door. But there was no answer. The police approached John Lavaya, you remember John, the new neighbor, asking if he saw the family leave, what did they drive, and typical welfare check questions. Over the next hour, the police kept on ringing the doorbell repeatedly. The 2 cars were parked in the driveway. The Enoch city manager was pacing outside the home. A police officer was sprinting down the street, and at one point they opened the garage. Tasha's truck was in there. When John, the neighbor, saw that, he knew that something was wrong. John's father-in-law talked to Michael on the Sunday, 1st of January, while he was shoveling snow, and Michael even told him to get ready because they will be getting a lot of snow. The next day, on Monday the 2nd of January, he saw Tasha waving at him as she steered her truck out of the driveway. Later in the afternoon, she returned waving again. She backed into the garage like she always did, and that was the last time that John's father-in-law saw her. John's daughter spent that morning, the morning of the police checking the house, looking out the window at the Heights home, which by that time was taped off. His daughter asked him who was she going to ride bikes with now, because they were all racing together down the street and they can't race without having all of them in the race. Tina Brown last spoke to her best friend Tasha on 30th of December about, how Christmas went and how the kids were doing. So really nobody saw this coming. On Thursday, January the 5th, 2023, the Height family was found in their home. According to city manager Rob Dodson, this was a murder-suicide. 3 adults and 5 children were found deceased, having sustained gunshot wounds. Michael Height is suspected of shooting and killing his 78-year-old mother-in-law, Gail Earl, his wife, 40-year-old Tasha Height, and their 5 children. The 4-year-old boy, the 7-year-old boy, the 7-year-old girl, the 12-year-old girl, and the 17-year-old girl, before evidence suggests that he killed himself. The police found the family in their home at around 4 p.m. after responding to a welfare check from concerned members who had not heard from the victims, most specifically from Tasha, who, like I said, missed an appointment.
Well, today a welfare check was called into the Union City Police Department to check on a home here on Albert Drive. Upon entering the home, the officers found 8 individuals, 3 adults and 5 minors who had received gunshots and were deceased. At this time, I don't have the information I can give you about the people who were in the house, except for it was a family. There's going to take hours and hours and hours to make a determination of what happened inside this home. The investigators here from Iron County, from Cedar City Police Department, from Enix City Police Department, working conjunction together to try to find the answers to what happened in the home. We all know this family. Many of us have served with them in church, in community, and have gone to school with these individuals. And so this community at this time is hurting. They're feeling loss, they're feeling pain, they have a lot of questions, which is natural, and they're here to support. It's been amazing for us who are here at this time to the texts and the posts and the care that people here have for those who are working and those also who have felt the pain as family and neighbors and friends.
It's just heart-wrenching.
A lot of people know the family, and so, we've all been really hit by this hard.
It's an act of violence that has shaken this very close-knit community in Enoch to its core, and many now are trying to figure out what comes next.
It's not too often something like this hits very close to home.
As the investigation continues tonight, we are slowly learning more about the family killed as we hear from members of the community who are around them almost every single day.
We have team coverage tonight on the impacts of this violence. How will parents talk to their kids about what happened to their classmates, and what can be done to help the first responders who had to see the scene firsthand?
Yeah, we're going to start things off with a breakdown of what we know right now as we hear from city leaders for the very first time. News specialist Lauren Steinbrecher live now in Enoch with the latest. Lauren?
Yeah, Mike and Debbie, so investigators still have this area around the home roped off. You can see that memorial is growing kind of in front of that crime scene tape as this community tries to grapple with what happened. A community in complete sadness.
The Hates were my neighbors.
And disbelief.
The youngest children played in my yard with my sons.
Even the mayor of Enoch is grasping to comprehend how an entire family in their close-knit community, active in church, known to everyone around them, is gone.
This is a tremendous blow to many, many families.
Enoch City believes the husband and father, Michael Haight, shot and killed his wife, Tasha, mother-in-law, Gail Earl, and his 5 kids, a 17-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl, 7-year-old twins, boy and girl, and 4-year-old boy, before he died by suicide.
According to court records, Tasha had filed for divorce from Michael just 2 weeks before this incident on 21st of December. However, the city manager said that they don't know why this happened and they won't be taking any guesses. The investigation is ongoing and the Enoch City Police Department will release information as it comes forward. They are still working on performing the autopsies. When exactly the shooting happened is still under investigation, but according to officials, several witnesses spoke with Tasha and one of her daughters at a church event the night before they were murdered. City officials also said they didn't hear any reports of gunshots or anything suspicious.
People had seen the family just the night before on Tuesday.
The daughter and the mother were at a church activity the night before.
But on Wednesday,
Someone with whom Tasha had an appointment yesterday morning called and reported that she had missed the appointment and requested a law enforcement conduct a welfare check.
a few hours later, the city says Cedar City police received a missing persons report about Michael from his office in Cedar City. They would then find out Tasha filed for divorce 2 weeks ago. An urgent check on their house led to the grisly discovery.
Officials could not confirm who was living in the house at the time of the shooting, although several neighbors who spoke with the Deseret News said they believed Michael and Tasha Haight were still living together, and Gail Earl, Tasha's mother, had been at the home since Christmas to help the family transition following the divorce. Gail had been married, but Boyd J. Earl, Gail's husband, died in 2020 at the age of 77. He was a veteran of Desert Storm and was a Green Beret, according to his obituary. Helping out would be typical of Gail. She always looked for opportunities to help others when they needed help. She brought comfort to those who were around her, and she passed the skill on to her daughter Tasha, who exemplified love and care for everyone who came in contact with her. In turn, Tasha instilled the same values in her own children. James Park, who represented Tasha in the divorce case, said that she didn't express any fear that her husband would physically hurt her, but he declined to elaborate, citing the investigation into the killings. He only met her 3 times in the last weeks, most recently on the 3rd of January, and she seemed like an incredibly nice lady. He said that Michael was served the divorce papers on December 27th, but the reason for the divorce is not known publicly. It seems that Michael was still living at the home in the basement even after being served the divorce paperwork. 5th District Court records in Cedar City show that Tasha filed for divorce on December 21st, 2022, and on the same day, the court issued a domestic relations injunction saying that both parties must not harass or intimidate each other by any means, including electronically. It also warns against domestic violence or abuse against the other person or a child, which is very telling in my opinion. Enoch Police Chief Jackson Ames also said that officers investigated Michael and his family a few years before, so the family was known to police, which suggests that there were possible problems inside the household, but the police chief didn't give any more details.
Police say they already know this family and have responded to this home.
Yeah, we had been involved in some investigations with the family a couple years prior.
Right now, they can't say what that investigation was for, as this investigation continues in a community reeling and in shock.
We do know that they were our friends, they were our neighbors, and that we loved them.
Yeah, and Tasha's mom, Gail, we're told had been staying at the house to kind of help out while this divorce process was starting. Another thing that I learned tonight, Michael was employed with Allstate Insurance. He was an insurance agent in Cedar City. Allstate confirmed with me this evening that he was no longer employed there when this was happening. So I'm really not sure how recent that was. Mike and Debbie.
All right, Lauren, thanks for that report.
Now, he went on to say that a welfare check is usually done when a neighbor raises concerns or perhaps someone hasn't been seen for an unusual period of time, but officials did not release any details about who requested this check or when. The city manager also said that authorities don't have any info about a motive and that it would likely take a few days of longer before they could reach any conclusions about what had taken place inside that home. I can also tell you that the Iron County School District in Cedar City, Utah, posted a statement confirming that all 5 children were sadly students there. They've hired counselors to help families deal with the tragedy. And the Utah governor, Spencer Cox, tweeted on Wednesday saying, "Our hearts go out to all those affected by the senseless violence."
I mean, quite honestly, in my opinion, for Tasha to decide to get a divorce after 20 years, something was happening in that household. Something was happening in their marriage. You don't just go ahead and decide to divorce after 20 years over trivial issues. Another very interesting thing is that Michael removed the guns owned by himself and his wife just days before the murder-suicide. Jeannie Earl, the sister-in-law, told the Associated Press that Tasha had told her extended family that her husband took the guns from the family's home just 2 weeks after she filed for divorce. She said that she didn't know how Tasha felt about the removal of the guns, but said it left the family vulnerable because both Tasha and her mother Gail were trained in gun safety and personal protection. Enoch City Manager Rob Dodson said that local law enforcement never had a reason to suspect anything. They never had to get involved with the guns and never had to remove any firearms from the home. According to Jeannie, if either Tasha or Gail had a chance to defend their family, they would have been able to use the guns because they had the skill to do it. And to me, this suggests possible premeditation. I think Michael might have planned this. That's why he removed the guns, so that no one has a chance to fight back, leaving them completely defenseless. And I can't even begin to imagine how those poor children must have felt in those moments, knowing exactly what will happen to them and knowing exactly that the one pulling the trigger was their own father. Although shocking, family mass killings are an all too common tragedy across the country, across the US. They've happened nearly every 3.5 weeks for the last 2 decades on average, according to a database compiled by USA Today, the Associated Press, and Northeastern University. Enoch, Utah is one of more than 30 communities sent reeling by a family mass killing in the last 2 years. A list that includes community of wealth and poverty and spares no race or class. A family mass killing where 4 or more people were killed, not including the perpetrator, happened each of the last 2 years in places as large as Houston or as small as Casa Grande, Arizona, according to this database. The circumstances of the killings are numerous. An argument over pandemic stimulus checks left 4 family members shot dead and 2 injured in Indianapolis. Then you have financial issues which led to authorities finding 6 children and their parents inside a house set ablaze in Oklahoma. Another case was an escalating custody battle in Ohio, which precedes a man and members of his family shooting the mother of his child and 7 of her family members. A father loses his job, piles his wife and kids in the family station wagon and plunges it into the Detroit River is just another case. Motives can remain speculative in family killings in which assailants take their own lives, but police often cite financial or relationship issues as the cause. Family mass killings are in fact the most common type of mass killing, making up about 45% of the 415 mass shootings since 2006, according to this database. They happen twice as frequently as mass shootings in which members of the public are killed. Most, but not all, involve handguns Only about a third involve households with a previous occurrence of domestic violence, and most of the assailants have no violent history or criminal past. There is no governmental agency tracking murder-suicides nationally, so a few years ago, policy analysts at the Violence Policy Center, a non-profit educational organization that conducts research and public education on violence in the US, began tracking details from news accounts to produce an annual report. The latest version from 2020 looked at murder-suicides, including many mass killings during the first 6 months of 2019. The study found 81% of murder-suicides happened at home and 65% involved intimate partners. The study also found that among murder-suicides where more than 3 people, aside from the assailant, were killed, 6 of the 10 during those 6 months were incidents in which a person killed their children, partner, and themselves. Most of the killings fall into 2 categories. The first is murder by proxy, in which the killer is motivated by anger or resentment and kills the children who are seen as an extension of their partner. The second is suicide by proxy, motivated by despondency or depression, most often a job loss, and the assailant kills the children as an extension of themselves. Tina Brown, Tasha's best friend, told Fox Salt Lake City, quote, "Tasha was the most kind and generous person, and she never ever said anything ill about anyone. She would give the shirt off of her back for anyone, and she served people tirelessly." End of quote. For all the times that Tina spoke to her friend, she wishes she could do it one more time. Quote, "If I could shed any light at all about Tasha, is that she was everybody's friend, and she made everybody feel like they were her only friend. There was no way to know what was coming. I don't know how anyone can make any sense of this. I decided last night when I went to bed with such a heavy heart and a lot of anger, I just decided I'm not focusing on the darkness anymore. I want to talk about the light. It kind of hit me like a rock when my oldest said, 'Mom, we see things like this all the time on the news. You hear about it on podcasts and you see Dateline episodes, but it doesn't happen here, and it definitely doesn't happen to people that we know.'" End of quote. Terry Earl is Tasha Hyde's brother and Gail's son, and here are a few thoughts that I want to share from him and from all of Gail's kids. Quote, "If I had to summarize the lives of my precious mother, beloved sister, and gorgeous nieces and nephews into a word, it would be pure. They are beautiful, innocent, loving, and among the kindest people I know. Their impact on the world was beyond measure, and they will be missed. Our time with Tasha, nieces and nephews, our beautiful, sweet, kind, selfless mother was taken too soon. Our thoughts will forever be on remembering the laughter and the pure love from each of you. I'm going to miss the football tackle hugs, the current books being read, the date pictures, the excitement of baptism, and the new adventures from starting school. Tasha, the bond we had as siblings doesn't stop. Mom, thanks for teaching us to be kind. Never goodbye, always see you later until we meet again." At family dinner, Tasha always made the best desserts. Gluten-free, of course. Family dinners will not happen anymore because Tasha and Mom are not here. Tasha was an exceptional mother whose only purpose was to help her children grow up to be the best examples of the Savior. She would drop anything for her children. I don't remember Tasha ever raising her voice to her children. She was always soft-spoken with them. If they were making choices that she needed to have them change, she would teach them the value and the importance of the said value and ask them to make a better choice. Gail. Wow, simply stated, my mom was an angel here on earth. She was a prime example of what disciple of Christ should be. She was always in tune with the Spirit and would often be found serving people before anyone, including them, knew they needed service. End of quote. Gail's granddaughter said this, quote, "Aunt Tasha Hyde, I have no words. I'm still in disbelief. You are such an amazing woman, mom, aunt, and example. You brought hope and kindness to every person you met. Grandma, I'm so thankful for all the time we have spent together over the years. The many card games, the laughs, the family dinners. You were my piano teacher and my co-worker for years. I can't believe I even have to write this. You were gone too soon. I'm thankful you are with Grandpa again. Macy, Briley, Ammon, Sienna and Gavin, I can't imagine the things you had to endure in this life. I will miss all of you tremendously. Your laughs, smiles, stories. End of quote.
I'm still trying to process the fact that she's gone and that her kids are gone.
Becky Thurgood has known Tasha Haight since the two were both pregnant for the first time.
She was quick-witted. She could make you laugh so easily. She was a rock for me during some hard times for me. And she was always a soundboard for me. She was a light, just a joy to be around.
At one point, they lived just a block away from each other.
She and I'd go for walks every morning with our babies.
She says she can't understand what happened. Police saying they believe Tasha's husband, Michael Haight, shot her, their 5 children, and her mother before turning the gun on himself.
It's a shock. I'm baffled by it.
Becky didn't know him well, but she knew Tasha had filed for divorce last month.
She was just ready to move on into a new chapter of her life with her kids, and her 2 oldest were ready for it as well.
That chapter ending with so many unanswered questions. Becky finds solace in her faith.
And it's the only comfort that I'm feeling at this time is knowing that they're at peace and they're together and they're missed.
There is a GoFundMe organized for the family with funds going towards any expenses and fees needed. It says in part, quote, "It is with the heaviest hearts that we share the passing of Gail Earl, Tasha Haight, and her 5 beautiful children. Their lives were tragically taken too soon. There are no words to describe the heartache we feel. They will be missed immensely by their family, friends, neighbors, classmates, and community. The funds will go towards any funeral expenses if needed, legal fees, and the memorial fund in honor of Tasha's children." End of quote. I will also leave the link for the fundraiser in the description under this video if you are interested to donate. Teachers at the nearby schools, just 2 days off of their Christmas break, struggled with how to approach the day after the tragedy that happened. The letter posted on the school's website said, quote, "It is with deep regret that we inform you about the tragic loss to our school community." End of quote. Additionally, Enoch had received great support and many resources, including from Governor Spencer Cox and the National Security Council. We here in Enoch, a little town of about 7,500, are very grateful to the greater world at large who are mindful of us at this time, Chestnut said, but asks that their privacy be respected. President Biden and his wife Jill are mourning with the city of Enoch. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre released a statement on the matter, stating that too many Americans have lost loved ones or had their lives forever changed due to gun violence, and gun violence remains the leading cause of death for children in America. I didn't put my eyelashes on properly again. I think it's gonna take me 2 years to get the hang of it. I don't know. I have no idea. So according to Biden's statement, this incident was another mass shooting that claimed the lives of 5 or more children in Enoch City that occurred less than 1 month after the 10-year anniversary of the Sandy Hook tragedy. And this is all the information that I have for you. Although the investigation is, ongoing, the suspect, Michael, took his own life as well, so I'm not sure what else will the investigation reveal, and I'm not even sure if it really matters at this point, because there's nothing that can possibly justify the disgusting actions of Michael. To me, he seems like a narcissistic excuse of a man. He wasn't able to deal with the fact that he couldn't control their life anymore, and he couldn't take the fact that Tasha took the decision to rebuild her life without him in it, and suddenly he was not in control anymore. I think that he possibly planned something like this, since she filed for divorce. There is a reason, in my opinion, why he took their guns away, and I think this is also the reason why he left his job a few days before doing what he did. I think that he already had it set in his mind that he will do this and nothing else will matter anymore. And whilst I was doing my research on this case, as a lot of people do, obviously I went on social media as well, so I've seen a lot of people chatting on social media, in particular on Facebook, about the family, about Michael and about the religion. Now, a lot of people seem to kind of excuse what he did by using the, oh, maybe he had a mental health issue and he couldn't cope with the divorce situation and this is what triggered him, or others were saying that, oh, the devil possessed him and took over him and so the devil did it and people should be praying and going to church so the devil doesn't get hold of them like it did him. Now, I want to say something here because I really can't help myself. First of all, there are so many people in this world going through divorce, finance issues, struggling with their mental health, being triggered by so many different things, but they don't go and kill their entire family because of it. I think that this is just a pathetic excuse that people come up with to defend something which doesn't have any kind of defense whatsoever, or perhaps to even justify the actions, which is, in my opinion, unacceptable. There is absolutely no excuse in this entire world to kill your wife, mother-in-law and children. None whatsoever. Michael is a family annihilator, just as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. He has all the traits of one. Michael lost control and he couldn't handle it. For the first time, his wife decided to leave a marriage which, in my opinion, was not working. Otherwise, why would you divorce your husband of 20 years? She did that and he couldn't accept that he is not in control anymore. He couldn't accept that his wife took a decision without his approval or initiative. I am 100% certain that if he would have filed for divorce, they would still be alive today because he would have been in control if ever he would file for divorce. For him, for Michael, there was no point in the kids being alive if the parents are divorced. There was no point of the family living without him in the house. He couldn't accept that, and so he decided to just take everyone's life. His mother-in-law was there to help, and perhaps in his eyes she was there to help her daughter navigate through the divorce, something that he didn't want. So again, the grudge, in my opinion, was there as well against his mother-in-law. Also, I believe that for him, being divorced would have been shameful in his community. After all, he would have been the man of the house, right? How can his wife leave him and just go ahead and build a new life? He's not man enough to handle her. He's not man enough to control her enough to stay in the marriage. So he had to be the man and gain back control. He couldn't allow others to see his perfectly seen marriage just fall apart. And yes, a lot of people have said that they seemed like they were happy and had a great relationship, but you never know what happens behind closed doors. In my honest opinion, I believe there was an element of abuse and or violence in the household. There is a reason why the court issued a domestic relations injunction saying that both parties must not harass or intimidate each other by any means, including electronically, warning against domestic violence or abuse against the other person or a child. Something was going on in that household. And one last point that I want to touch is the devil possessed him. The devil made him do it. Look, I have absolutely nothing against religion, against believers. You do anything that makes you happy, that's fine. But I do have an issue when people justify horrendous acts by saying that the killer became possessed by the devil. Why do you have to say that? Why? Does it make you feel any better? Does it make you humanize a killer? Is that the reason why you're saying it? I just don't get it. We have to accept that human beings can be killers. We don't need to bring divinity or whatever else and just blame the devil. What? The devil made me do it? No, you made the decision to kill your children, your family, not because you were possessed by the devil, but because you couldn't accept that your family can have happy lives without you being there. And so, it wasn't the devil who pulled the trigger, how many times? 8, 9 times, possibly even more, we don't know the autopsy results. It was you who pulled the trigger, the man, the human, not the devil. Come on guys, let's not justify or excuse something that has absolutely no excuse or justification. In my opinion, that's just pathetic. It might sound rough or mean. I don't really mean to offend people. I mean, if you are a religious person, that's fine. You know, you tell yourself whatever you want to make yourself feel better. But at the end of the day, apart from the disgusting killer, 40-year-old Tasha, 17-year-old Macy, 12-year-old Briley, 7-year-old twins Ammon and Sienna, 4-year-old Gavin, and 78-year-old Gail lost their life at the hands of a narcissistic excuse of a human. And again, I don't mean to offend anyone. I hope that you got to the point I was trying to make. This is everything that I have for you in today's video. I don't even think I'm going to be making any updates on the case because for me, you know, it's done and dusted. Yes, we will get some autopsy results and we will find more information around the autopsy results. But in my eyes, like I said, there is absolutely nothing that will justify or excuse what Michael did. And seeing that there is no one that can be charged for these horrific murders because he killed himself, then I don't really see a point in carrying on making the lives of the remaining family even more miserable than it already is. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, stay safe. Like I said, if you are willing to donate for this family, I will leave the GoFundMe link in the description under this video. And also, if you are interested in any of the makeup that I use for today's video, all of the products are linked in the description under the video. And like usual, I do take case suggestions, so if you do have any case in particular you want me to cover, just leave any details you have in the comments under the video. Thank you again for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!